Right, welcome to the October 6th meeting of the Technical Advisory Committee, TPO. So we will start off with the call to order. We're doing self-introductions, right? So this is Jeff Sims with the Environmental Protection Commission, acting chair. Thank you.
Mike Williams with Hillsborough County Development Services, vice chair.
Jake Hollins, Planning Commission staff, member at large.
Gemma Alcacci, Hillsborough County Community and Infrastructure Planning Department.
Jesus Barraza Garcia with Hart.
Carol Lepore with the Hillsborough County Aviation Authority.
John Scott. Speaking for Melody.
Jennifer Malone, Hillsborough County Planning Commission. Elizabeth Watkins, TPO staff. And Charity Howard.
All right, great. Is there any other members online that would like to introduce themselves?
This is Venkat Vatikudi, Traffic Engineering Manager with Hillsborough County.
Oh, Ben, okay. Hello, Ben.
Hi, this is
Anyone else?
Ana Quinones from THEA.
All right, I'm assuming that's everyone. So with that, we do have a quorum. Next up would be any public comments. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak today? Not seeing any internal, anything online? That would be a big NO, so we will continue to move on with the approval of minutes from September 8th meeting. Is there any comments or questions on the meeting notes that were included with the packet?
Jake Hollins, make a motion to approve the September 8th notes.
We have a motion. We're going to get a second.
Second.
Jesus with a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. So first up is our initial action item, the TIP amendments with our very own Elizabeth Clark.
Good afternoon, TAC, Elizabeth Watkins, TPO staff. There are two TIP amendments before you today. Both are related to HART's FTA formula funds. And when I say formula funds, all that really means is they're designated by population and other factors to go straight to HART and to provide service. So these aren't funds that they've applied for. And truthfully, nothing has really changed with these formula funding programs. It's just the numbers needed to be tweaked. So that's really kind of the purpose of the agenda of the TIP amendments, is to show these two formula programs in the town. So the first project is HART Section 5307 funds. Again, these are formula funds that are designated specifically for HART. And HART uses these mainly for their capital expenditures. So with this allocation of funding, they plan to update some of their HVAC units in their 21st Avenue and their streetcar facilities. Also continue to keep their fleet in a state of good repair and purchase new CNG buses. Make some bus shelter improvements as they can, as well as upgrade some IT equipment. So all capital physical implementation work. Here are just a few images of the current bus shelters that HART uses. They protect riders from the elements, and I know HART is trying to get more of these out there of their nearly 3,000 stops. So what's actually changing in the transportation improvement program? Well, again, really the purpose of this was to just reflect the amount of funding. And in full transparency, if you want to call to your attention, the amount that is shown in fiscal year 2026 is not what is going to be presented to the board. It shows $132 million for 5307, and that is not actually how much HART receives. They expect to receive annually about $25 million. So I'm happy to share that HART, TPO, and QT were able to work together to kind of fix this issue. So while it says it's $132 million, that would be revised on Wednesday with the board to really show that $25 million that HART uses of 5307 for their capital purchases. The second formula fund TIP project page that's being considered is showing the 5309 funds that HART receives for fixed guideway. So as you'll recall, fixed guideway transit is something where it's in its own guideway. So because HART operates the streetcar, part of the formula of the lane miles and riders, they do get an allocation, a little over $1 million a year to help with that service. So HART's plans with this funds are to replace the roofs on the streetcar stations, particularly in historic Ybor. And sticking with that historic character, the construction is wood and shingle. So some of these are over 20 years and past their useful life. So HART intends to, either do a full replacement or a rehab to ensure that these historic stations stay in a state of good repair. And what's actually changing in the TIP is clarifying how much is actually available to HART. So this is correct information. Again, they expect to receive about $1.3 million annually to support capital projects related to this regard. So the recommended action before you today is to recommend that the DPO board approve these amendments to the Transportation Improvement Program. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Is there any questions from the committee?
So just question, the 132 million is what's in there right now. They're revising it to say 25.
Yes,
Is that what they actually use?
yes, that's what we'll go to.
Okay. Thank you.
Jennifer?
Jennifer Malone, just a general comment, maybe it's a question, but assuming, they're replacing the stations in historic Ybor, these new covered shelters would follow, they'd be required to follow the historic guidelines of that area?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Is the streetcar still, are they charging a fare or is it still? It's still.
No, it's still free. We had a little scare last year, but it's still free.
Okay. And that's for the near future, still the intent.
Yeah, there's some back and forth with the city right now. That's several breaks about my favorite, but I think that the city's gonna do everything in their power to keep it free.
Right. So any other comments or questions? It doesn't appear to be, so we are looking for a motion as shown on the screen.
Motion to recommend the TPO board approve the amendments to the FY 26-30 Transportation Improvement Program.
Second.
Thank you, Jesus. Second by Jennifer. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so good. Thank you, Elizabeth. Next up is very well dressed Jesus.
Halloween came early.
For the HART Comprehensive Operations Analysis Update.
Good afternoon, PAT. My name is Assistant President of HART staff. Today I will explain why we're currently proposing some service changes. Then I'm gonna go over each proposal route by route and speak to how we're engaging the public to get their perspective. HART's currently reviewing our bus network and we're considering route changes for the summer of 2026. These proposed adjustments are designed to be trade-offs, meaning we're hoping to reallocate our limited resources and put them in the best place to succeed, which will make HART more efficient and productive. We're also currently accepting feedback about these proposed changes. Since July of last year, we have been conducting something that's called a Comprehensive Operational Analysis, or COA. It is a full review of the entire system to identify strengths and weaknesses that results in short-term improvements, things like route realignment, frequency changes, hour changes, which will impact quality of service for riders and quality of life for operators. These improvements are cost neutral, meaning they don't cost additional money, but they also do not save money. No new funding is assumed. It is best practice to conduct a COA every 5 to 7 years. This one in particular is very important because it's the first one since COVID. We want to ensure that the system is still serving the entire community in the best way. While the COA is only about the short term, we also have something called the Transit Development Plan, TDP, which is our 10-year vision plan for how we would like to expand with future growth. The TDP includes a list of unfunded needs, which is we let us prioritize how those improvements, how we would like to prioritize those improvements when or if new funding becomes available. We will be doing a major update of the TDP next year, and we'll be coming back out to the community to talk about the future vision. So the COA will be the foundation of the TDP, and the TDP is the first 10 years of the LRTP transit component. So all these things, while they're not the same, they're connected. The relevant proposed changes are on the slide. It includes improvements to Route 9 on 50th Street and 30th Street and Route 34 on Coastal Avenue. I'm going to caveat this by saying when these slides were published, well, after the slides were published, we made a little change. So we're considering a second route for frequency improvements. So it's either the 9 or the 38. Route 38 is a Brandon route. It's also 60 minutes and it's also high ridership, high productivity. So it could use the frequency as well, but it's an either or, we cannot afford both. So we made that change based on the initial feedback we've received. We are also looking at adjustments to Route 7 in West Tampa, Route 26 on Brandon Boulevard, and Route 37 in Brandon Park. And the removal of 3 routes, Route 24 lights from Fishhawk to South Tampa, Route 25 lights from Bloomingdale to South Tampa, and the Hartplex South County. So there are some proposed reductions, and we do not take this decision as lightly. But we hope to reallocate this both within hours to where we have the most demand, which will make the biggest difference for riders. Please note that the changes on the slide are just a proposal. They could be changed based on public feedback. I will not talk about each route one by one and what is proposed to change. We're looking at improving 2 routes, as I said. Route 9, 50th Street, 30th Street, increase frequency from every 60 minutes to every 30 minutes on weekdays. Same idea, if it were the Route 38, it would be the same improvement. For the Route 9 specifically, this would provide better service for the nearly 700 trips that take place in this route every day. One of our goals with this plan was to improve hourly routes because that improves driver time when you have to connect. Wait time is less. I will also project this improvement will add about 200 riders, 200 trips per day. The other improvement is Route 34. That one's not an either or, that one is it. We would have greater reliability by adjusting the schedule to arrival time more often. Currently, Route 34 comes every 20 minutes, but it struggles with a lot of traffic. In order to keep the route every 20 minutes, we need another vehicle to combat traffic so that the bus would actually be supposed to. Route 34 is one of the top 4 most used routes in the system, serving about 2,700 trips per weekday. Next, we have a route adjustment on Route 37. The loop to HTC Brandon would be removed, and the route would stay on Falkenberg Road. This change would make the trip quicker for the 10 people who are on board on average or not going to HTC Brandon. For those going to HTC, which is about 1 person per trip versus 10, the alternative is a half-mile walk from Falkenberg Road. We are proposed to reduce the span of service on 2 routes. The last eastbound trip on Route 7, which departs at 11:25 p.m. heading towards Marion Transit Center, would be reduced 7 days per week. The reason for this change is that trip at 11:30 at night, it sometimes has 1 person, it sometimes has 1 so the bus sometimes is empty. So that's the rationale behind this. Similarly, Route 7, similar to Route 7, we have Route 46. The last westbound trip, which is 10:45 p.m. heading towards Brandon North, would also be removed 7 days a week, same logic, at 10:45 p.m. if you are not going to the mall, you're going away from the mall platform. 2 of the limited express routes from the Brandon area to South Tampa would no longer be in service. Those are routes 24 LX and 25 LX. These 2 routes are some of the least productive routes in the system. For these riders, there is an alternative. They could use Route 360 LX out of J.C. Hanley Park Drive to get to downtown Tampa or McGill Air Force Base. Lastly, Hartplex South County would no longer be in service. This route has the lowest ridership and is the least productive in the entire system. There are only about 2 people riding per hour. For those who qualify, Sunshine Line could be an alternative to travel in the Sun City Center and Wetland areas. So, public feedback. It is very important, and it will help us determine how to best meet the community's needs. So, please help us spread the word. Everybody has a flyer in front of you. If you need more, if you need a PDF version, I'll get them on to you. There are many ways to submit feedback. A great way to do it is through our main webpage, partserviceinfo.com, which is that QR code. All our information is in there, including an online form to submit comments, all the maps and flyers with the proposed changes, the schedule of all the public meetings. The webpage is in both English and Spanish. It's a one-stop shop. People can also call hard customer service, email us at feedback@or.org, send us mail, physical mail for those who still do that, and or attend one of the public meetings that listed on the slide. So you can see a couple weeks ago we had a round of open houses and virtual town halls. This week we're having another round tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. We're also posting at transit centers. Well, the weekend we have one today actually. And additionally, we have hard staff and consultant staff at parking rides and riding the routes affected to hand out flyers and collect comments. All comments will be considered equally regardless of how we receive them. Whether you submit the online form, or you call us, or you attend the public hearing, it's all the same. Your comment is treated the same. Comment will be accepted until October 15th at 7 p.m. next Wednesday, at the conclusion of the public hearing at the Harvard Board office. I want to take this time to thank the TPO for providing us with consultant support to carry out this big outreach effort. It has the consulting team has been great to work with. So next steps. As I said, we're currently accepting feedback about these changes through next Wednesday. After the public input period closes, our staff will review public comments and make adjustments to the plan as needed. The Hard Board of Directors will do a final approval of the service changes in February 2026, and if approved, the implementation will be in June of 2026. We will be coming back to the TPO in February to present the outcome of the service changes of the outcome of the effort. Okay. Rewind. We're coming in February to the TPO to present the outcome of the outreach efforts, and in May to promote the service changes, which will be going live the next month. With that, I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thanks, Jesus. Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer Malone, thank you, this is really informative. Route 34, you said you all would add a bus to help liability, that's a 20-minute headway route right now. So could you tell us just from your experience, what's a good headway that cars should be striving for?
I think 15-20 is good to shoot for. I mean, ideally 15, but 20 is good as well.
Okay.
Some people think that 5 minutes doesn't make a difference, but when you're actually taking the bus, it does.
And what are your top 4 riderships routes? Because I know you said Route 34 was the top 4.
Yeah, it's in order. 1, Florida Avenue, 6, Route 6, 56th Street, Route 34, Hillsborough Avenue, and Route 400, Nebraska Avenue.
Perfect, thank you. And then, sorry, we just went through our big Tampa future land use section update this summer, looking at our different roads that would be transit ready corridors. And I'm just asking these questions because I did kind of work a little bit with Jesus, and I appreciate the support from Bart to kind of, as we're doing our long range land use planning, trying to figure out what routes Bart will continue to fund in the long term and what those would look like. So that's just why I was kind of digging into this a little bit. I was interested to hear, it's just more of a comment, that Route 24 LX, you said was only like 90 people a day, riders a day.
Yeah.
That was just an interesting tidbit. I was kind of under the impression, through our outreach this summer that was being utilized more frequently. But that's, interesting that it's not really being taken as much as I think it probably could be.
Yeah, so when we say trips, that's every time somebody gets on. So typically it's half. because everybody makes 2 trips right out of that. So 90 trips a day is probably something like 40 to 50 people, maybe at most.
Right.
In terms of like routes that we will continue to invest in, it's pretty much the entire system. We, in the transit industry, people talk about legacy routes, which are the routes that no matter how unproductive I think they are, never get rid of them. However, PAR doesn't have too many unproductive routes. That's one of the outcomes of this study. And I didn't go through all those data slides, but we have a whole like eliminating those 3 routes. It's like we really like and they're not badly unproductive. They're just like the least productive in a highly performing system. So if we have a route out there now, we're probably going to keep it long term, except for those 3. We haven't unfortunately made them right now.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear that there's some 20-minute midway routes. You guys will continue investing, so.
Yeah, those sub-4 could be 15 if we had the funding for it. Right now, they are only route 1 is 15. The other 3 are 20.
Jacob.
Thank you. So, Jesus, it's a good presentation. So equipment just gets dispersed into the fleet, right? And then, the drivers just dispersed into this, you're cutting some instead of expanding some. So I was just wondering what happens with that.
Oh, you mean like vehicles and operators?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it all gets reallocated. There is no official cut. There's no good budget cut. We're staying the same in terms of budget, and number of vehicles, number of operators, number of dollars. We're just moving from one place to the other.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? You all have an app, right? It's hard to have an app. I think.
We promote the transit app, which is like an open source app, kind of like Google Maps.
Right.
Potato potato. Our materials have transit app, but Google Map also does the job for trip planning.
Okay. And then you have a lot, you can pay electronically with the phone, correct? Like.
Yeah, Flamingo Paris, that's a separate app.
So I guess my question is that an outlet that you've been using to try and advertise, the changes that are coming out?
Yeah, we have the transit app offers banners. So it's like every time you open the app, it's this nagging thing that comes down and tells you something. Yes, we have that on the transit app right now.
I might have missed it. You may have said that, but.
No, I didn't. We also have it on the website or the hard website, gohard.org. There's also this annoying thing that comes up that it's annoying for a reason.
Right. Yeah, because I think obviously you know who's likely going to be affected. I'm trying to think how you can get it out, or like, do they post it on, let's say that 34X or 24LX? It's probably the same 40 people that are going to be affected.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've heard from all of them.
Okay.
Every single one.
All right. Yeah, it's sometimes tough making the decisions, but for the better good, or even like the HCC, get it published there for those few people that are having to make that walk. That's right near my office, so I know exactly whether it is a bit of a long trip. Yeah. I can understand why you're making the change. Anyway, any other comments or questions?
One question. And I provide service coming into the airport. Correct, yeah, so, and I'm not familiar with how often they're coming in, but did you look at kind of those routes? I'm not asking from the airport perspective, how well those routes do coming in and out of the airport?
They are good. 80 routes. There's 3, 10, 30, 32. The 30 is top 10 ridership. The 32 is somewhere in there, top 15. They're middle of the pack productivity wise, but they're still fairly strong routes. The 10 is towards the lower end.
Right.
But it also serves a purpose. It's the Cypress Street corridor, so it's not like we could abandon it.
Right, I just wasn't sure how the ridership was coming in, I had service,
Yes.
but wasn't sure how, how many people were really taking the bus into the airport.
Yeah, I could get you more exact numbers, but yeah, they are fairly strong routes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, all right, very good. And doesn't sound like I'm hearing anything online. So with that, I think we've concluded the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
We will move on. Next item up is the Temple Terrace multimodal network connection study. And Connor, if you present.
Good afternoon, TAC. It's been a while since I've been here, so thanks. I am Connor Travis McDonald, TPO staff, here to present on the Temple Terrace multimodal network connection study, which is quite a mouthful. So we're also looking for a name for this trail system. So recommendations. So the background, to give you a background, this was requested out of Mayor Ross, actually. He had a vision for something like the Boston Freedom Trail, so a kind of loop network that would connect the city's key points. So some of the objectives, one is to identify a preferred multimodal trail network. Another is to enhance connectivity among neighborhoods, commercial areas, parks, and the key points, as I mentioned. Also to engage the public and stakeholders to obtain feedback and insights to the vision. So quick timeline, earlier this year, with the consultant, we conducted a review of existing plans. We have an existing conditions assessment, as well as a public survey, which I'll share the results of. We're kind of in the second phase, we split this into four. We recently conducted a stakeholder workshop, working on concept developments, and we are soon to have a public workshop. And then from there, we'll have a network prioritization. We'll do a cost and feasibility analysis and the mapping, and then finally we'll have these plans presented to you, the committees, Temple Terrace City Council, and the team. So some of the highlights of this survey, more than 51% of the respondents indicated that a lack of safe routes is a factor preventing them from walking or biking. 50% said selected daily or several times a week for their frequency of walking or biking. Respondents rate parks, shopping, and neighborhoods as their top 3 destinations. They also rate safety, connectivity, and comfort as their top 3 most important checks. So from the stakeholder meeting, we had, of course, TPO staff, we had the City of Temple Terrace engineering staff, Hillsborough County staff, we had Hart and Jesus, and a representative from the Temple Terrace TAC, as well as some administrators from Florida College. One major thing they noted was connectivity. So they discussed opportunities and provided more information about the planning context of the route. They also identified regional opportunities like connecting to the Tampa Bypass Canal Trail. They also identified that Hart has a robust ridership in Temple Terrace and provides connectivity to USF and parks, which is part of downtown. They also mentioned the 56th Street or downtown CRA, which is a high pedestrian activity area in Temple Terrace. There's ongoing park improvements and new businesses that will likely increase that demand for connectivity. Hopefully you can see this map a little bit better than I can on this screen. But these are community activity centers that we identified at the beginning of the study. So a lot of these are from the Planning Commission. Some of them are from the City of Temple Terrace, but there's some commercial corridors, community activity centers, open space, residential, neighborhood activity centers, and other residential corridors, as well as parks and recreation. So from there, we identified these kind of key points with the libraries and schools and turned it into this, which is a draft trail route, and trail in the sense of like a looped connected system rather than what a lot of people may imagine is like an off-road system. So that blue line is the proposed, and then the red is alternatives that we'll seek in public feedback. There's also some gray lines on here, as you can kind of see at the north, northwest areas, more towards USF. When you have those opportunities, just because it was an opportunity in a study to evaluate what else can be done, but not necessarily part of the trail. So some of the criteria to create that trail alignment in the blue line were speed limits, existing facilities, connectivity to parks, schools, civic uses. And the draft alignment connects up to 13 city parks, which I think is pretty impressive. And the draft alignment connects key civic and commercial areas like City Hall, Public Works, and the downtown CRA, as well as 3 public schools. So the public engagement that we'll be doing is actually this Saturday. We're going to the Temple Terrace Fire Station open house. we're doing that because we think we would have a lot more foot traffic than we may as a separated public workshop. So we're hoping to get a lot of feedback on the tabletop maps, questionnaires and whatnot. So some of the discussion I wanted to kind of have today with you all is what factors should be considered in prioritizing parts of the trail loop? What facilities should be considered when attracting people outside of Temple Terrace? If you know of any cultural or natural features that you should consider, maybe even branding efforts. That's what I'd really like to gather today, and then we'll be coming back early next year with the finalizing. So the next steps, we'll be collecting the public and community feedback this month. In November, December, we'll be creating that prioritization, cost and feasibility analysis. And then in December and early next year, we'll be presenting this to Temple Terrace City Council, the committees, and to. So with that, I'll take any comments or questions, and I'll go back to that discussion.
Okay, thank you, Connor. Questions or comments? I mean, you talk a lot about walking and biking. I know Temple Terrace, I believe, is one of only 2 areas where golf carts are permitted to be on the roadway. So what kind of feedback did you get and allowances are you making for their use on such a path?
Absolutely. So we have kind of used the word multimodal and some other like more broad language to include golf carts. You know, that's a very high use mode in Temple Terrace. So we are aware of that, and we've kind of left it open. A lot of these may be on-street facilities, so, you know, low-stress roadways that golf cart will be able to use, so we've definitely left it open for that.
Can you go back to the slide? I think the one where you talked about like, things you would actually do, and it was like right before this one. Okay, thank you. Can I just like look at this for a quick second?
Well, she's looking, it is interesting. I actually grew up in Temple Terrace in so many ways. I went to school there, so I'm familiar with a lot of the areas. And I mean, obviously 56 is your big obstacle of, you know, busy traffic where moving around on a pedestrian or bicycle is gonna be difficult. So it made a lot of sense to me that you were running it parallel to it a couple blocks off. So that made that, again, I'm just kind of commenting that seemed to make sense. And using River Hills, that's a pretty drive back near the river. I mean, you don't see it in a lot of areas because it's houses right on it, but that seems to make a lot of sense. I'm not familiar though with the real yards, what's the coast, some coast where.
Yes, the seaboard coast towns. You know, we aren't too familiar either. I tried to look at, you know, abandoned railway maps to see if it's on there. Nothing was identified. And that was actually a request out of the city of Temple Terrace engineering to see if we could use the rails to trails, but I don't think that will be eligible. Right now, what it looks like is kind of the rail isn't there, it's a ditch. And you can kind of see where people are using a path already next to the ditch. So it looks like an opportunity.
What ownership is that under?
The rail line, I'm not sure.
Either the city or TAC maybe, even, but there's definitely not a rail, but that's.
Yeah, and the things, I think I was looking for the slide, I thought you had a slide up that was like the things that could be done to implement a trail system, like a lower speed limit. Was that my imagination?
Sure. Could have been. I think it might be this.
Oh,
that one,
here. Okay, yeah, okay, that's all, thank you.
Yeah, there are a lot of parks and stuff that are hidden in there that you don't even know. Kind of nice that you're touching on. I guess this question, this is outside the scope of probably what you're looking at, but I know some years back, there was a study done about trying to provide golf cart access across Fowler, possibly to go under the bridge, right there on the river. In which case, if that was to be in place, it maybe would affect you, so it would give you opportunity to have a trail that could access properties north of that. I don't know if you had any input or knowledge on that.
I'm not super familiar. I know the TPO did conduct that study on the Fowler Avenue park crossing. I know that we've incorporated, I'll go back to. We've had the gray line kind of more as opportunity. It's a little, almost outside the boundary of Temple Terrace. So we're looking a little bit south of that loop connection. But we're definitely aware of it and it has been considered in the development.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Florida Master Site File obviously has the historic resources for the 1920s med revs that go all the way around the golf course, which is pretty interesting to see since a good bit of them are still there. The other thing that, for 20 years, every once in a while, we talk about it, but we've never done it. To my knowledge, we've never done a study on pedestrian bridges over the Hillsborough River up there to actually make connections, which I think would be a really interesting thing for trail connections to go back and forth, because the bridges or something up there, you might be able to get a pedestrian bridge to make a connection in some of those areas.
Yeah, I thought I remember a study being done for some bridges, they were gonna be not on the main roadways, they were just looking at, does that sound familiar? PPO, I thought, was doing it, or about pedestrian bridges across the river as an opportunity. They were gonna be south of Fowler, I thought.
I'm not familiar with that, but I could definitely. Sounds like it should.
But there could be, looking into that with the development of the bypass now.
I think it was just a preliminary study. It wasn't like they were putting money towards or anything as far as implementing it, but I thought there was, because again, Temple Terrace has a little bit more remembrance in my head, so, because I was trying to think where they could put it. And I want to say it wasn't far up the Druid Hills. Anyway. I can remember some of them. It's a cool project. As you enjoyed it. Jesus.
Great presentation. Thank you, Connor. I had a quick question on the northwest part, the little red line that goes on Fowler, otherwise known as Death Trap Boulevard. Why? Like, why is the trail going on?
Right.
Like, what about Fowler made it happen?
There is an FGOT project, and I'm not sure what phase it is. But there's a project on Fowler that this would be a good opportunity to connect. So
They're doing like a trail on one side of Fowler, right?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
I think Elizabeth might be able to more. That's it.
Yeah, no, I believe, DOT is planning to have a buffered bike lane along Fowler from 56 to River Hills. So that could potentially tie in.
Okay, that makes sense. I still like Whiteway better. Whiteway?
Whiteway, yeah. All right, any other comments? Probably more than you expected. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up's the Henderson Boulevard, Manhattan Avenue Vision Plan.
Good afternoon, Lisa Silva, TPO staff and Vision Zero coordinator. I see in the room a lot of purple, so I'm seeing that it's sharing. I'm going to turn my camera off so I don't conflict with the bandwidth. All right. So I'm back with some more corridors. You've seen Waters and Slide before and some other high injury networks that we've tackled. This time around, it's got a different flavor. So I'm going to hit some of the highlights of the distinctions of this versus some of the other studies we've done. This is the Technical Advisory Committee committee. So many of your agencies are stakeholders or participants in the study. So we've gotten some great feedback from you already, from your staff. Okay, yay. Okay, so gonna go over the overview. What the stage we're at now is we've wrapped up the existing conditions, developing some preliminary findings, and we're getting ready to go out with our public engagement. So we want to elicit your feedback and getting people to comment on the draft recommendations. I'm going to hit some of that as we go through here. As is typical with our safety things, we're out there to address the safety concerns and provide a lot more choices. So this is a multimodal analysis. And then while we're out there, we also look at all the placemaking and other things that can complement and make it a better experience for our community in general. This is a beast of a corridor. It's a whole more than 4 miles long. It is 2 different jurisdictions inside the city of Tampa, and the city of Tampa owns none of it. So there's that fun twist on the project as again. So what we're talking about is from Kennedy Boulevard on Henderson all the way down to where it meets Manhattan Avenue, and then Manhattan Avenue south to Gandy. So that's a significant portion. All right, as I said, we completed existing conditions. We went out with our field audit, making sure that we overlap the school year so we could recognize the school patterns, because there are significant amounts of schools up and down the corridor just adjacent to it. So they're traversing it, and there aren't any middle schools south of Gandy, so they're all north of Gandy. So that's another thing that reflected in our analysis. I am hearing the room, Elizabeth, so just to note that. And then we will take all of the public feedback and then all the committees and stakeholders' feedback and develop it into a final vision. That's also a little bit different this time.
Lisa, could you hold on for just 1 second?
Sure.
All right, let's see if that worked.
Okay.
Okay. Testing, testing. Do I need to go back any?
Hello, Lisa, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you guys. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. All right, Lisa, will you try again?
Okay, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I think we got it. Thank you. All right, continue.
All right. All right. Do I need to back up any? Or are you good?
I think we're good.
Okay. So we completed a very stellar existing conditions analysis. If anybody wants to get all nerded out, you can go in and review it. We, again, 4 miles, and I'm not going to go into every little thing for you today, but we did the general overview. Of course, we looked at the crash data and history. We did traffic counts, so we had to have the latest, greatest out there. The traffic counts made sure that we did all modes, not just vehicular. There's some tricky land use and demographic stuff going on the corridor. So we pulled in our land use planners into the process and recognized and reflected what was going on there. Okay, so again, portions of it are on the high entry network. The target speed in the Moose plan wants it to go down to 35. It's 40 today, so that's helping influence things. Portions of it are designated track routes. Some of it's being reevaluated. As I mentioned, it's got 2 different ownership, Department of Transportation and county. The county's doing a Safe Streets for All review for a little portion of the southern part of it down near Gandy, but they're just doing a tier 1, tier 2 level analysis. What was requested distinct on this corridor over some of the other like quick building kind of requests from our jurisdictions is that they wanted a vision plan, like what's the ultimate for this roadway, so that we know what we're aiming for longer term, so that then if it's realized, they could talk about like doing a interlocal agreement and swapping back. All the typical traffic counts, you know, that and the peak hour and the level of service and the level of traffic stress for the bikes and the pedestrians, all that's in our analysis. It's all in the report and in the mapping. You can see that different crashes. Okay. All right. Walk audit. Broke it into 2 different days and took the whole team and a wagon with us so we could experience the roadway, even for the non-able-bodied and people with walkers or bikes or scooters along the corridor, which we did see. So Lisa and team got a lot of steps those 2 days and got to experience the corridor a lot. Recognized not a lot of bike facilities on there, tons of sidewalk gaps. Parking right on what is supposed to be the pedestrian area. So we got some serious non-conforming issues out there to address. It all got boiled down into our lovely report. And so let's get to the fun part and show you some of the recommendations. We've got the big corridor. So just went a little faster. So it's broken into like 9 different segments so that we could digest it, plus the context changes throughout the corridor from like C3C to C5, you know, in various areas. So Again, if you want to look at more detail, you can go review the report because we've got each segment here, like the Zeal to Swan, a Horatio intersection improvement being considered, you know. Oops, goes faster on my, okay. And then we recognize that the survey does not match up with the real world. So first thing on our list of follow-up would be, we need to get a current survey. I think ours dates back to 1941, and that's the most current that there is. So yeah, a lot of fun challenges. We are recognizing that we can't do the whole vision build out at once. So when we can, we're like showing some of the quicker build ideas. You're gonna see when we pull out the materials for the public engagement that there's a bike focused, pedestrian focused, and a hybrid focused for the public to weigh in on. We got some fun, crazy intersections where 6 segments coming in, and a lot of people being upset about the signal timing and maneuverability to get up and down and across the corridor. So looking at maybe we prohibit some of those turns, but we don't want to prohibit one that's a primary crossing for a school's area, you know, like, so we need the community's input on these. Roundabouts are being explored at several locations. We considered lane repurposing, but the traffic counts and the future growth projections don't really allow that tool in the toolbox of countermeasures. So let's see. Then we get down to Manhattan, it changes some more. There's some really great, enjoyable median areas, but there's not a lot of frequency of crossings. So even though it's legal to cross wherever there's an intersection, there's not a lot of marked or protected crosswalks. So of course, that's a strategy. Okay, picking you up and down the corridor. Okay, that's good. Okay, so mark your calendars and put it in the back of your mind that the day after Veterans Day, November 12th, is our public charrette. So we're going to roll out all these 4 miles of 9 segments roadway with all the recommendations and different ideas for the public's feedback. It's going to be in person on November 12th at 6:30 in the evening at the Jan Platt Library, which is located right on Manhattan, ample parking, etc. It's going to have a companion survey to ask some questions to get feedback on some of the tools and to get feedback on the community's perspectives on the corridor. It's going to be parallel with an online version of this. So there's an interactive map that you can also go on and place your little virtual Post-its on. And then you can also complete the survey online. So we're going to have both and have them reflective. And again, all of that will get then summarized in a final vision plan. So I'll be back to you for like the final recommendations. This is an example of one of the draft boards for the charrette where we're going to list the different countermeasures, ask them to like put their little dots on them. And here's again, some of those different cross sections they'll be asked to provide feedback on. So the charrette flyer is in your packet. Please distribute it. And if you know of a group that wants some kind of presentation from me, then I'm welcome to come out and do that for you. So that's a quick overview and teaser of what's going on with Manhattan Henderson.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. You certainly have your hands full with that segment of roadway. That is not an easy one. And I mean, Henderson in particular, running diagonally, it seems like my experience has been that's one that you know causes issues. I can see why there would be suggestions for improvement, particularly at Morrison, because I've been on that one and I remember feeling like this is like unclear about exactly, you know, obviously not when you're on Henderson going straight, but when you turn off of it, I think there's 6 connections there and it's a little awkward. So I could definitely see where some of that could be improved. Anyway, do we have a comment on the presentation? We do.
Lisa, thank you. Great presentation. 2 things, an offer and a question. Chris with the offer. We have a route, and I'll get to that with my questions. We have a route of Henderson, a little bit, and then again on Manhattan, south of Euclid.
Yeah.
So if you need anything from us, data-wise, bus stop infrastructure-wise, if somebody comes to you complaining about a bus stop, you can send them my way. And then also I just checked that library is served by that route, so people can also get there by bus to your public
Yes.
work.
Yes, thank you. That Hart's routes are identified in the existing conditions report, and in our field review, we noticed they're not ideally staggered and located at intersections, so that may be a recommendation for the long-term vision. Thank you.
Yeah, that was my question, like in your audit and when you were out there, did you notice anything particularly interesting about like transit usage, like people crossing the street in front of bus stops or something like that?
Yes, that's why we're like, these aren't ideally located and probably don't meet your current standards, and also a little ADA, issues that some of them, others are lovely, others are where the trees are and stuff, and then others are not. So, yeah, I don't have them all memorized, and I did it in May, but it's all summarized in the report.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay, you said you had an offer and then do you have any other question?
No, my question was about your observations. So.
Oh, the observations. Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we look forward to seeing the progress, Lisa.
All right. I'll have Elizabeth send you the survey when it's live so you can comment and invite. Thank you.
Okay, last scheduled item is the Hillsborough County Corridor Preservation Plan update.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Bellerhoff. I am an executive planner with Hillsborough County's Department of Community and Infrastructure Planning. And I'm here today to share with you a little bit about a project that is in process at the moment, which is the Corridor Preservation Plan Update Study. How do I advance here?
You should be able to click or use the arrows on the keyboard.
Up, down.
That's right.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. First question, what is the Corridor Preservation Plan? The Corridor Preservation Plan is actually an exhibit within the mobility section of the county's comprehensive plan. It is referred to as Map 1, referenced by numerous objectives and policies. And what it is, it indicates roadways that will likely need future widening. And this can be used along with development regulations to establish setbacks for future development along those roadways. So it protects the long-term transportation need of the county by kind of establishing where we think we will need wider roads in distant future. And it provides clarity about the development potential for property owners along such roadways that they understand that the county may come to them at some time in the future, looking to widen so that they aren't putting sort of non-removable facilities in areas that the widening could occur. The current plan has not been comprehensively reviewed since it was adopted. It has had some periodic adjustments, most recently in 2021, but it hasn't had kind of a top-to-bottom look in a very long time. So the current study looks at potential population growth and development patterns out to the year 2070, and to illustrate where changes might be needed. And so the image you see here right now is a blow-up of the current plan with the legend showing the lane counts that it calls for down there in the lower left. So what we have been doing is we've done some analysis of these potential future trends, like I said, and prepared a number of maps that we took out to the public over the summer. We had 4 public meetings and an online engagement, and we shared with the communities first the adopted plan. Then we had, I'll have these blown up a little bit. So that's what you see actually on the left is the adopted plan. And on the right, we have an existing conditions map with any projects that are in the 2050 adopted cost feasible plan also indicated. So that would be, if we follow through on the cost feasible plan, what the lane counts on the roadways would look like by the year 2050. So that's kind of our other existing baseline, if you will, or currently anticipated future baseline. And then we also had maps by looking at the population and land use changes modeled out to the year 2070. We showed where the need would be for further expansion of the roadways, and then we showed also some traffic conditions, the degree of congestion on roadways if those recommended widenings were to come to pass. And so we shared these 4 maps with the public and just really got their feedback on, do these projections, if you live in that area, do they match what you are experiencing now? Would you have a concern, or would you be enthusiastic about changes to the roadways that are close to your home? Any feelings that they might have about current state congestion or the need for future widenings were received, and we got a lot of feedback, both in person and online, in the hundreds of individual comments. So the next steps are, we've been processing that public input and are drafting a summary technical memo, and we're working towards a draft updated border preservation plan. So taking comments from people and saying, you know, their comments on whether something might be more severe on one road or another, or they don't wish to see any changes in those areas. Comments of that order, all well documented and considered in the analysis. So we're planning a second online engagement in a couple of weeks. We're putting the finishing touches on it right now, shooting for the week of the 20th, and that will be up online for about 3 weeks. And then finally we will have finished the study and prepared to share it with the Board of County Commissioners. This study itself wouldn't necessarily specifically propose to effectuate any changes. It's just making recommendations of potential needs based on the study analysis. And it would take kind of a separate amendment process through the Planning Commission and ultimately approved by the VOCC to do so. But this is the data analysis that could support such a future change. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Chris. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, great presentation. Is this only vehicular, like only cars, or is there like a multimodal walk-back transit component?
It is, the analysis is looking at motor vehicle traffic altogether in the number of lanes that would be needed to conduct that motor vehicle traffic. The specific cross sections that might be implemented could then also sort of incorporate getting into 4 or 6 lane cross sections, as the county's transportation technical manual and other guides would say. Okay, this would have pedestrian facilities on a cross section of this scale, but we're not making any predictions with regard to transit service. But we do look at some land use scenarios that might be more or less dense in the future as part of the analysis, to kind of see that could impact the flow of cars, but it is primarily a motor vehicle oriented study.
Okay.
Anyone, any other comments? But I'm thinking out to where we're seeing so much growth, like what's your feedback shown as like the areas that seem to be the biggest concern about like rural roadways that are gonna need to be?
Obviously, South County got a lot of attention. As you might have seen, and we're still in the process of kind of processing all that data. So the updated maps that we will share in a couple of weeks will be showing that. But there is certainly need even in the south and extreme east areas of the county. We're showing that there's some need for some expansion out there. We didn't get too much specific feedback about those areas. We did, our public involvement locations were at 4 public libraries scattered throughout the county. The one down in Ruskin, the Bloomingdale one, the one in Citrus Park, not Citrus Park, West Chase, south of Citrus Park area. And then also up in, Carrollwood on Bears. I think that is Luke's, this is closer to me, but on the Bears library up there. So we had people from there. Obviously, we did, there are certain things related to widening that are very much in the public's mind, things related to the interstates and the North 275. This is focused on county-wide facility, county maintained facilities primarily, but we certainly did receive a lot of comments on that because whenever you mentioned widening projects, there are people who are very attuned to that and what they're doing to be done. But where we see kind of the biggest demand and growth, of course, is in the South County areas.
Consistent with what we've seen, especially White Mama area.
Yeah, just one quick, Chris. Any consideration for modeling on the local network with the idea of constrained roads or anything else that you might have when you are looking at widening elsewhere? Basically, as you move traffic along, what it may do somewhere else?
Well, certainly the modeling is looking at the push and pull throughout the network. I would have to double check with my consultants on the degree to which any roads were deemed constrained, or if right-of-way, existing right-of-way was kind of put in there as a current bottleneck. I assume it wasn't, that we're just looking at demand flows. And then ultimately some of the recommendations may have looked at something previously determined to be constrained or not. Like, I know, of course, I can double check the specifics, but certainly, we got feedback from folks up in the Odessa area about things like highways, like why aren't we widening up there? It's like, well, the community is pretty well established that we can't, and they won't accept it. They're on record and backed up by lots of action to do that. So certainly all of those background issues are in the hopper.
Thank you.
But if you have a specific question, I can check analysis too if you want to reach out.
Sure.
Have you looked at typical sections that you plan to use, or are you just going to have lane calls and that kind of thing?
This has really just got lane calls, and the typical sections would need to the county as those standards evolve. But this is just to conduct traffic in
There's a pretty wide variety of typical sections, and just say for a 4-lane
Right.
road or 2-lane road, whatever. And the right-of-way varies significantly. And when we're doing corridor preservation, you sort of need to know which typicals we're going to use. And maybe that can come later.
Yeah, I think it would come later, especially those do change from time to time and the specific project, and you may have more or less available. But ultimately, what I think this is just trying to lay down the markers, like these are the number of cars we need to move through here, and it's going to take this many lanes. Whether you've got enhancements around that or not, which certainly in the multimodal future we hope we have as much as we can to provide for the other stuff, but that's going to be more on a case-by-case basis, I believe. We're not getting into the specifics of the typical sections with this this study.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other comments or questions? I think that does it. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. All right, that ends all the scheduled activity. Is there any old or new business?
I have 2 items if it's on the chair.
Okay.
The first is the TPO staff are seeking the TAC's input on any intersections that you noticed cars blocking the box. And when I say blocking the box, here's a visual of what I mean. Is, you know, a vehicle is entered the intersection, maybe the light was green, but then it turns red, but then they're, you know, in the middle of the intersection, and then the other traffic can't go. They may be blocking a crosswalk, but they're basically stuck in the box, blocking the box. So I kind of wanted to go to the brain trust and see if in your professional or personal capacity, if you've noticed any intersections where this is a problem. I know I've seen it on certain sections of Kennedy. We're aware of one on Hillsborough in Florida. Just kind of wanted to bring it up to the group, and if there were any intersections that you were aware of in the county where you've seen vehicles block the blocks on a regular occurrence.
Why is TPO things like that?
Oh, TPO staff.
Oh, TPO?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And this came up, Johnny did a great presentation to the board last month. So we're trying to identify some intersections, and then we're gonna pursue a variety of potential treatments, whether that be law enforcement partnerships, public service campaigns. So we're just trying to tap into where these potential intersections are, because it's hard to see in the data. So we're looking for lived experiences, and then gonna kind of take more feedback and see what goes from there.
Okay. That explains it. I thought you said TPO, and I thought that was very curious.
Yeah, no, TPO.
I can't think of any recurring one, but MLK and 301, when there is a fairgrounds event, it can get bad. Again, I've seen this once, because the people are usually really good at like clearing the intersection. But there was this one time that it was like complete gridlock because of that. But again, it's not a daily thing.
And that's a good point. Like maybe it's just like special events, not always recurring because of normal traffic. But thank you for highlighting that intersection, and that maybe it's not at peak hours. Maybe it's based on activities.
So you have to excuse my ignorance, I'm really a land use planner, not a transportation planner, but some of the improvements that would be done, like would signalization plays a big part in this, and so that would be one of the.
That's probably more medium term, because it depends on the type of hardware that's available to do any kind of signal retiming.
Right.
But that would absolutely be on the table. I think right now what we're trying to do is do more of an analysis of looking into what's the cause of it, and then trying to do some of those low-hanging fruits of public awareness, maybe an existing. But you're right. Signal timing could also address the issue.
It just seems like the signalization, and I mostly drive around the city, so it's just could really use like a real upgrade. I think the systems are fairly outdated, and also public, like we said about public awareness. People need to understand that you can't block the box.
Yeah.
Maybe they should wait to go until there's enough space.
Right. So
That's just my 2 cents.
And that's actually a perfect cue. TPO is currently working with the local government partners on a traffic signal prioritization. So some of that, I anticipate more on this conversation over the next few months.
I can't wait to see it.
So I live on West Wilder, so I know all about Hillsborough Avenue in Florida. One of the things that's interesting, DOT put up the traffic light at West Wilder that allows you to go across the street, the high school and everything that's on the other side over there in the historic district, and it's a good thing. But what you end up having is we already knew that people queue jump off of Hillsborough Avenue, go south on Highland. They now know that that light is there, and they know that they can use that light as a way to wiggle their way in to cut through and go all the way around. So even though that light is not more than 2-3 years old, 4 or 5 years old, that box is constantly blocked. in the afternoons because everybody comes down and makes a movement to go around to get through those lights that they have right there and travel on the south side of Hillsborough around all of that traffic where the interchange and everything is. And so what will end up happening is they'll go north on Florida again to skip over onto Wilder to cut through the neighborhood. But you have, it's such a small area, and again, we were talking about constrained roadways and right of way. It's 4 lanes right there, but there's nowhere to go because the curve's right there. So they just cut through and sit right there. The southbound traffic stares at them because you can't get around it. The northbound traffic is mad at them because the northbound traffic is blocked all the way back to Osborne right there. So, and that's pretty much every day at rush hour. It just does that little area that's in that. There's just so many cars that are moving right there from Hillsborough, Highland, Wilder, Florida, Interstate, Osborne. It's wild.
Okay, and you said of course, there have been recent improvements, but still those issues persist.
Well, because what it did is we're all pattern creatures. You found out another way to get through it. And that's what that light did. It allows people, what it should do exactly, is allow you to have a safe movement, either going north or south onto Florida off of Wilder. But what it does is it allows everybody who's cutting through to know they're going to get into traffic because the light stops people.
Thank you, Jay.
All right.
Yeah, I sit in my front porch and just watch it all happen. That's good. That's a good time. Y'all come down. Turn it into a game. Yeah, well, you said it, I didn't.
Well, you asked for it, you got it. There's all kinds of, I know I've seen backups at rush hour on 60, and that's nothing new, probably at Parsons maybe, but I don't know that I've seen the lanes blocked as much as it's just too much, or Kings, yeah, that's that. It's just such a glut, and then when it drops a lane at Kings, that really narrows down. I mean, nothing new, you guys know about that. So, but again, not really so much a lane blockage as much as just a lot of frustration, I think, from people jumping around. Anyone else? Anybody else like to complain? This is the time. Okay.
Thank you for
Was
that.
that it? I thought you had 2
I
items.
did have one other one,
Okay.
if that's okay. So as you may or may not be aware, after the TAC meeting, a report is given to the TPO board about what you discussed, the actions that you took. And typically TPO staff do that report on your behalf. In addition to the CAC chair comes every month to the TPO board to personally deliver the report. So we wanted to bring this up to the TAC's attention, if there would be any interest, maybe quarterly, having the chair or designate come and present the TAC's report directly to the TPO.
I mean, I don't know if it,
I think you do a fine job.
I mean, if it has merit, I don't know, you know, it's kind of like, I don't mind doing it, but I just, or.
Are they looking for?
I mean, I guess the question is, you know, is there somebody seeking that as an improvement, or, you know, if that will help, then sure, you know.
I think, you know, opportunities for the committees, for the board to see committees is always a positive thing. So I think it's just something we're bringing up to all the committees to assess interest at this point.
One thing I'd be a little, if you're gonna have multiple committees doing it, a lot of the topics are the same. So I know I said ITS and I see the same topics, you know, same presentation. So you might get people reporting on the same topics, and, you know, that might not be as received as readily if people feel like they're just hearing the same story. So. But just something to think about. No, I mean, a quarterly seems reasonable too. I mean, if you were saying monthly, it might be a little bit more. But again, we're willing to do whatever. Probably time for me to pass the baton anyway, so somebody else can take it on. I've been doing it for 10 years now.
Thanks for that feedback.
Okay. All right, I think that's it for old and new business. Seeing nobody else with interest to comment, we will end the meeting. Thanks.